Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, friends. Welcome to another episode of Leadership Tidbits with Coach T. Wilson. I am your host and leadership mentor, Tywauna Wilson. I want to welcome you to another episode of this podcast. And today I wanted to share some basic tips with you. As I have been rounding with teams, I feel like it's time to go back to the basics. As you all know, I am a laboratory leader, and right now the staffing shortage is real. It is definitely affecting teams near and far. And I just think going back to the basics, especially where this is a time where people are really feeling that pressure, they're really getting burnt out, they're really getting frustrated, they're really getting and sometimes angry. And so going back to those basics of building a strong team, and it starts with the leader. So it doesn't matter how many good all-stars that you have on the team. If you have a bad leader or an ineffective leader, it is going to trickle down to the entire team. So just wanted to go back to the basics, share just a few quick tips for you that you can implement right away. And we will go from there. But in the meantime, come on in. Come on in. I want to make sure that the audio and the technical looks okay because it looks like it is uh, having some difficulties here. So I want to make sure that you are able to see me. So in the meantime, come on in. Let me know where you're coming in from so that I can welcome you in properly. Okay. So it looks like I am live. So I want to make sure that before I go on. And if you could just let me know, you could drop it in the chat. So it looks like it could be doing some freezing up too. So, all right. So we will go ahead and get started. Like I said, let me know where you're coming in from so I can welcome you in properly. All right. Let's go in and get started. I do got some good stuff for you today that I'm excited to share with you. So, I'm going to be talking about building a strong team, traits of a great leader. And like I said, I'm going to give you 3 quick practical tips that you can use and implement right away because I know if you get a lot of information, a lot of content, you're going to walk away and say, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then when it comes down to it, you might not do anything. And so I'm going to give you just some basic tips. Hi, Tamara. Good evening from Columbus, Ohio. I'm excited to have you here joining on to the show. So let's get right into it. Want to give you a reminder, those of you that are Elaborate Topics supporters, as you know, we released a new episode today. And on that episode, we had Takiwa Smith, who was talking about STEM. So make sure that you check out the episode. It was a phenomenal episode. She's doing awesome things through STEM, through her program out of the Atlanta area. But make sure you check it out. And if you are not familiar or hip, as I like to say, to the Elaborate Topics podcast, we drop a new show each and every Tuesday where we bring another lab professional or friend of the laboratory onto our show. You can find it at directimpactbroadcasting.com or your favorite podcast platform. And so if you have been under a rock and you have missed the show, we have over 100 episodes out there and we have been seen in over 50 countries. So we have over 50 countries that download and listen to our podcast each and every week. We're always looking for new guests. So if you would like to be on the show, let me know. You can drop it in the comments and I will give you the link so that you can fill out the form, because we would love to have you on and highlight you of being a member of the laboratory. Lab Vine is having their transformation school. So want to make sure that you know that as well. So all of the lab people out there who are watching this live or will watch the replay, their transformation school is coming up here in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, here on August the 29th, 30th, and 31st. And so the registration is free. I'll drop that link in the comments, but registration is free. You definitely want to make sure that you check it out. There will be 3 days of awesome speakers from all over the country. So check it out. The Elaborate Topics podcast crew will be presenting on day 2. So we will be talking about staff recruitment and retention in the workplace and how you can do better with that today. So we're excited to partner with them. You can also catch our podcast on Lab Vine. So it would say definitely check it out as a lab professional. Membership is free, and there's tons of podcasts, courses. There's tons of information over there. So check it out. So let's get into what we came to talk about today, which is 3 simple tips that you can implement right away. And really, it doesn't matter if you're a manager or if you are a lead tech or a coordinator or any of those, or a frontline team member. These are basic steps that you can start to use and implement right away, especially if you want to retain your teams. Like I said, I go to many different labs, and I have seen where right now the tension and frustration is at an all-time high. There's so many projects, not enough people, and people are getting overwhelmed. So getting back to these basics, I think, will take you and your teams a long way. So the first tip is, one, just take notice, right? So turn on your focus radar to see the good in your team. So if you are the leader, the manager, are you aware? Turn on your focus radar to see how your team is responding, what's going on with your team. Looking for those little things like them showing up prepared to work, them showing up prepared for meetings, working long hours to cover open shifts, because I know that you are probably short staffed or you have openings at this point. So I know that you have team members who are pulling double shifts, who are working extra weekends to cover, who are, working at different sites. If you're part of a larger health system that has multiple locations, you may have somebody that's filling in the gaps at wherever is needed. And so taking notice of those actions, if they're creating solutions to challenges that you have, if they're coming up with ways of how to save money, or thinking about a flexible schedule that's going to work in the meantime. Maybe they've even volunteered to work on your second or third shift temporarily until you've been able to find team members. So take notice of some of those creative solutions that your team is coming up with to the challenges that you're having in your laboratory environment. Take notice of them staying positive, right? I know right now it's hectic, right? It's hectic. Some of the labs that you all represent are getting ready to implement new computer systems, new instrumentation, and it's like it can be overwhelming. You're asked to do your job in a different way. And so take notice when people show up positive, even though they know it's going to be very short. They know there's going to be instrument issues. They know that they're going to have to cover more than one bench. Take notice of the positive attitude. Take notice of those listening to others, listening to their teammates. Now with the pandemic and post-pandemic and this new era of working, people want to bring their whole self to work. And with that, there comes a lot of challenges. People are having to navigate life very differently than they did last year or the year before. So being able to listen to others, people's worlds are falling apart, and sometimes they don't say a word, they don't say anything. And do you notice when your teammates are acting a little bit different than they normally do? And you know, when you have team members that come in, they're always positive, they're always upbeat, and then all of a sudden there's a drastic change. You as the leader, you as the team leader, the coordinator, or even the teammate, are you able to recognize some of those changes in your team? And are you being a listening ear? Because sometimes people don't even want you to solve anything. They just want to be able to talk with somebody or have somebody to listen about those challenges they may be having. And then meeting deadlines. If your workplace is anything like mine, or your schedule is anything like mine, I'm sure there's competing priorities, there's competing tasks, and everybody's deadline is of the most urgent, right? And so being able to meet those deadlines, are you taking notice when you have team members and colleagues that help with meeting those deadlines? And it could be something as simple as taking care of your inventory to make sure that you have what you need. They know that you don't have time to look at your inventory, but they know you're working on a validation. And so taking notice of things that might be happening. So meeting those deadlines and helping others to meet those deadlines. And being on time. Do you have team members that's always there on time? I know in the hospital environment is critical for your team members to be on time, right? You're 24-hour, provide 24-hour care, and you want your team to be there. If they were supposed to be there at 7 a.m., you're counting on them to be there at 7 a.m. Not 7:15, not 7:25, not 7:30. You need them there at 7 a.m. So take notice. And I know, you may say, well, they're supposed to be there at 7. That's their job. That's what they should do. And you're right. I mean, they should do that. But, there are people that are not doing that. And so when you have a lot of people that are not doing that, you take time and notice the ones that are doing that are consistently there. They are there ready to communicate and do the shift-to-shift handoff. They are coming in with a positive attitude. So take down the team members who are doing these actions. So don't just assume like that's my all-star team member. That's what they're supposed to do. They're going to do it. Take notice, because I'll give you a few other tips that you should apply. Because if not, the next thing you know, they'll be walking out of the door, right? Because they're doing these things and nobody is taking notice, and they are getting burnt out. And their next step usually is out the door. So a simple tip, as in taking notice of your team, will go a long way. It's hard to get people today. It's hard to get qualified people today. And when you do get people, it takes a while but for you to onboard them, right? By the time you train them, they go through their orientation period. It takes a while before they are operating on their own. So if you could do some of these simple things that would help you keep the team that you have, trust me, it will take you far, especially today when people got options. They got options and they can go somewhere where somebody is taking notice. So that's tip number 1. Pretty basic, but sometimes we need those reminders, especially when the workplace is very busy and hectic and you can take some of these things for granted. Tip number 2 is appreciate, right? Appreciate your team. People don't know how you feel unless you tell them, unless you show them, right? So you can have good intentions and be like, yeah, they know I appreciate them, but they don't, right? Because everybody's moving a million miles per hour. So they don't know you appreciate them unless you show them. And appreciation means to show your gratitude, your recognition of the quality, the value, the significance, or the magnitude of people and their work and things. So there's a quote that says, a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated. Think about that. Most people want to feel appreciated. They want to feel connected. If you have a revolving door of people coming in and leaving your organization, at some point they probably didn't feel appreciated. They didn't feel connected. You can ask them. I'm sure they'll tell you as they are going to their next employer. But people want to feel appreciated. That's just in our core. And so we appreciate and support the good deeds of others, and we make them feel good and boost their desire to do more good work. So when people are appreciated, they will continue to do good work. They will be those team players. They will be those advocates and champions on your team. But when they don't feel appreciated, guess what? They're going to start having that attitude that I'm just doing my time, and or I'm just waiting to retirement, or I just got one more year, or I just got 9 more months. And so you want to make sure that you are appreciating the team that you have. So if you were listening, if that makes sense, I know it's like, well, yeah, I appreciate people, but how many times are you actually saying, I appreciate you? I appreciate you showing up today. I don't know what you had to go through to get here. I don't know if it was a traffic jam, if the highway was backed up. I don't know what you had to go through, but I appreciate you showing up. And so, it's those simple things that even though, yes, that's their job, yes, they are getting a paycheck, but again, people want to be appreciated and you have to show them. Hey, Lona, thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you talking about the basic tips of those wanting to build and keep their teams. So that was tip number 2, was to appreciate. And then tip number 3 goes to telling. So we kind of talked about that with appreciation, but actually telling people. Nobody's a mind reader, right? So they don't know unless you tell them. Right? That just because you walk by and see them on the bench and you look over and look at them with your mask on, they don't know that you are appreciating them or not if you don't say anything. So we notice and appreciate others, and now you must tell them, right? Because we talked about taking notice, we talked about appreciating. So now you must tell them so they know the positive impact that they are making. And so that might go something like this. If you were telling somebody, I appreciate your ability to say the right things at the right moments to our clients, to our physicians, to our patients. I appreciate your ability to do that. How many times do you get an angry clinician that calls the lab? Where's my results? It should have been done. It's past the time. It was 20 minutes ago. Like, where's my results? So being able to tell a colleague that I appreciate the ability to say the right things, because our tongues can be sharp, right? Our tongues can be sharp. And so when somebody can say the right thing in a moment that can be hectic, that can be frustrating, it is a big deal. And that's a skill. So that's something that we should let people know. Or I appreciate your help so much. It helped me meet this deadline. I know for me, I got at least 3 or 4 competing priorities, competing projects, and they all of emergency. And so when somebody help you meet that deadline, if it's something as simple as, hey, you know what? I know you're working on new validation. I'll make sure you have the supplies that you need. If you give me your inventory list, I'll get it ordered. So that's helping meet my deadline, especially with, if I'm doing that bringing up a new instrument, if I am, validating a new test, anything like that. I mean, that's helpful. So telling people, I appreciate your help. Actually, just saying that. And I know it seems, it seems like yeah, like it really, like, yes, it's simple, but how many times do you hear people say, I appreciate your help? Just in the regular work day. I appreciate your help doing this pending log. Like, I really appreciate you finding those specimens that's been on the turnaround time monitor for like over 10 minutes now. And our turnaround time window was starting to reach the expiration. It may sound something like, I'm grateful for your willingness to not give up on our team, right? When everybody's walking out the door. When everybody's walking out the door, it seems like each and every week or every other week, somebody's putting in their notice. So you got those people that are hanging in there, that's working the extra shifts. That's a sacrifice to them. They work a double shift. That means that's time that they're not spending with their family, whether they have children or parents, right? Or friends. They everybody needs their own mental health downtime. And so when they're picking up extra shifts and working extra weekends, that's a sacrifice, whether they're a single person or a person with a family. So saying things such as, I'm grateful for your willingness to pick up an extra shift. I'm grateful for your willingness to hang in there. I know it's tough. I know, but I'm grateful for your willingness to endure. It could sound something like, I value the help you've given to the team. You really are a team player. I value your help. Like, people don't have to work another shift. People don't have to go to another location, right? Especially if that's not a part of their routine job. So telling people that you value their help, that's a big deal. I value if somebody, offers to call all your criticals, if criticals are still being called from the bench or from the tech, then that's that could be a big deal, depending on your workflow and how that works. So, having people to step up without being asked, people do want to hear that though, or it could sound something like, I'm so thankful for your hard work, right? It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. Just, I'm so thankful for your hard work. The instrument been down for 4 hours. You got specimens lined up. They lined up, and the turnaround time boards is red. So I'm thankful for your hard work. You're not losing your cool. You still need to take your instrument down for maintenance. And you're still trying to push through and endure and prioritize the specimens to get through as much as possible, especially if you got 2 instruments and one is down. So I had a team today. They really worked hard. They really were pushing through. Front end automation down, been down since last night. Today, so that means when front end automation is down, you pretty much on your alternative procedures or downtime procedures. Now you're front loading everything. Big difference from it being auto loaded from the automation line. And instrument problems. And when 95% of your work happened and one of your instruments is down, you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So that's like, I mean, they were really working hard, trying to prioritize stats and high priority clients that needed to go out in the morning. So just saying, I'm thankful for your work, even though I know it was tough, but they still kept pushing, or could sound something like, thanks for your support, you know, and especially if you got to have a difficult conversation with somebody. So thanks for your support in that difficult conversation. So maybe it's something where maybe you got to meet with, if you are a team leader or manager, and maybe you have to have a crucial conversation or some kind of feedback that may not be positive feedback with the employee. And depending on your organization, it could be one person or it could be two people that actually sits in on those conversations. And so sometimes, if you see your colleague that's getting a little bit frustrated, getting a little bit antsy, it might be one of those things where you jump in to keep the atmosphere calm, right? And so if somebody has ever had to step in and have that for you or with you, then yeah, you should say, thank you for the support. I really needed that at the time. You really had the wisdom at the time to keep this situation from going in a negative direction, right? And so, telling people how you feel. I'm thankful you're here today. I'm thankful you worked another shift. I value your commitment to our team. You've been here for 2 years. That's a long time in teams today. It used to be, 5, 10, 15 years, but today, you might have to value and thank somebody for staying, a year and a half or 2 years or whatever the case may be. But really using those words, I appreciate you. I value you. Thank you for your support. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. So that was tip number 3 of just, telling people how you feel, telling your team how you feel. Working in a laboratory today, being a lab leader today, you cannot go in, especially if you're the manager or director, and be disconnected. If you are disconnected, it will show in your turnover rate. Guaranteed. So check in, tell people how you feel, and then look at your turnover rates. You want to have the team that people want to be a part of. So the key takeaways or the main points that I wanted to share with you in this particular podcast, like I said, it didn't have anything long and drawn out, but wanted to really go back to the basics and share these things with you because I've seen it a lot, even more now as I work with a lot of different teams, a lot of different laboratorians and different labs. And that, we're so focused as lab people, we're focused on task. We're focused on projects, but we really got to get back to the people part of it and doing what is right. Right. So we always talk about in our work, keeping our patients first, but we also have to keep our teams first as well. And your team is only as strong as the weakest person on the team. And if you got a lot of weak people on the team, guess what? You have to look at yourself as the leader, and then you have to also look at if you're doing some of these basic things. And so key takeaways, practicing gratitude. And that takes practice. So you have to get into the gratitude practice. And like I said, it's just that it takes a commitment, it takes action and practice to improve, right? So you don't just get good at something by reading about it. You don't just get good at something by hearing about it. You get good at something by practicing it and putting it into action. The more you practice, the better you get, right? And so you can start that with rounding with your team. And I know we've talked about that a lot on the Elaborate Topics podcast of really getting connected with your team, rounding with your team, checking in with your team, especially before you start making some demands. Check in, see how they are doing. So I know for me, one of the things that I put into place in my very first manager role is I would always round with staff. And I would go in, I would put my purse down, and then before I even checked any email, I would go straight to the floor and ask everybody, how are you? What's going on today? And not just what's going on with the work, what's going on with you today? And then because I would round with them so often, I would notice if something was out of play with them or something was like, it's kind of not good. It's not a good day. And so getting to the heart of what's going on with you, your people, and making sure you say, you know what, I appreciate that. I appreciate everything that you were doing. I know it's tough. And because people are dealing with so much, not just in the workplace, but also in their personal lives. So if you are a manager, a new leader, and you're like, I'm trying to transition from being very good technically, and now I have people that report to me, the first thing I would say is get to know your people. You are only as strong as your people. So get to know your people and start practicing this stuff I'm talking about today, gratitude, each and every day. It will make your life so much easier as a new manager, a new leader, or even an experienced one. Start with the little things that have the greatest impact by noticing, appreciating, and telling others of their value and significance in the workplace, to your team, and even to your life if they've had that kind of impact to you in your life. But make sure that you notice, you appreciate, and you tell people their value. Sometimes we don't always tell people their value. So we may have all stars among our team, those rising stars, those people that they always perform. They usually always have a positive attitude. You can depend on them. And what do managers usually do with those people? They give them more work, right? They like, I can count on them, so I'm going to give them more and more and more. And that's okay if that is the pathway that that person wants to be on, but you need to appreciate them, because then what happens is they start to feel like they're being taken for granted, right? Like, you giving me more work, but you're not holding my teammate over here accountable. You giving me want me to do 2 and 3 benches, but then over here they're not even doing one, and you're not even saying anything. And you definitely ain't told me that you appreciate me picking up the slack. So, starting with those little things and then sharing your appreciation for others have big returns on the investment, because a person who is appreciated always does more than expected. So this is an investment. When you invest in people, right? So you need to be in the people investment business, then your returns are more than you could have ever thought they would be. So a huge, 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 huge. So investing in people, and remember that a person who is appreciated always does more than expected. They'll pick up the extra shift, they'll do more, they help out, they will, because they know that it's not just needed, but they are appreciated. So that's what I had for you for today. So let me drop in the chat your thoughts. Let me see what we got over here. Lona, she said, could be a pleasant surprise when I was talking about the showing gratitude and telling people you're thankful and you appreciate them. And yes, consistent rounding is a great way to build trust. And everything that I talked about today really goes back to building trust. And it's a way for you to build trust, right? So when you show people that you care, you show people that you value them, that is a way that you start to build trust, right? You're coming around, you're asking about me as the person and not just about what's happening on my bench, right? So you start to build that trust when you start using words such as, I value you. Thank you for supporting our newer texts. Thank you for everything you're doing with our students. Your expertise is greatly appreciated. We value and need you in this laboratory. So being able to use words like that will take you far. And as things get more hectic, as we know they will, they'll get more hectic. There will be more lab testing that will be needed. There will be more projects. There will be more instrument implementations. There will be more computer system upgrades, and there may not be more people, right, to do it. So go back to these simple things of noticing, take notice. You can start that tomorrow. You can start that tomorrow when you go in and meet with your team. So take notice, appreciate and show gratitude, and make sure you tell your team. So that's what I have for you for today for this episode of Leadership Tidbits. It's always an honor and a pleasure when I get to share with you. I love having my guests and mentors on, but every now and again, I also like to give my words of wisdom and share with you as well. So this show airs each and every Tuesday. So make sure that you share this broadcast out. Share it out with another laboratory professional, somebody that can benefit from hearing these practical tips, especially if they are a new leader that's struggling, a new manager, a new director, because sometimes we overcomplicate it, right? We overcomplicate it, and sometimes you just have to get back to the basics. And if you get back to the basics, be a person of value that values people, I'm telling you, it will take you far. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Share this broadcast out. Drop your feedback into the comments. I'll make sure that I drop the link in for the transformation school. You need to be in the building if you are a laboratory professional, because there are 3 great days of awesome training. Here's the thing I'll say about that. Don't just be a student. Get in the room. Get in the room so that you can ask questions. So it is an opportunity for you to not just get information, but to be able to network and ask questions and shorten your learning curve. So make sure you are in the building. Do me a favor. Let me know that you registered so that I can make sure that I see you there. And make sure you come on every day, but especially on day 2, where my fellow sister scientists and I will be sharing with you about recruitment, retention, and workforce trends. So thank you so much. I wish you an awesome week, an awesome evening, and until next time, my friends, be great, be amazing, and tell somebody thank you. I appreciate you and I value you. And without you, there really wouldn't be a me on this team or in your personal life or whatever it might be. So take care, and I'll talk with you later.